Hi Anna, my name is Ellen and I will be correcting this essay for you today. Let's take a look at what you've written us. It's the essay about ex-prisoners, so let's get straight into it, shall we? A number of people after being imprisoned have chosen a better path in their life. Therefore, the idea whether these individuals can beneficially influence young people remains, the S here, controversial. While I believe the prisoners can become changed people on certain conditions, I also think that the example can be steeply helpful for teenagers. Okay, so on the whole, it's all right. Okay, I know you said you've never taken IELTS before, so you have the general idea, all right, and that's good. Now there are a couple of things that I want to change, okay? So first of all, when you say something like a number of people, it really feels rather limiting. I would have preferred something different like some people, okay? Unless it's what the exam, let me see. Some people, okay, fine. Then you could have said maybe some individuals, okay? Or ex-convicts, or maybe some ex-convicts. So rather than changing some to a number of, because some feels rather vague, whereas a number of feels rather limiting. So that's what I would have focused on here. So why don't we try that? Some ex-convicts, after being imprisoned, have chosen a better path in their life. All right, and that's fine up to here. And then here it got a little strange. The idea whether these individuals can beneficially influence young people remains controversial. All right, we can keep it. I guess it's okay. I guess it's just the S here that you need. Well, I believe the prisoners can become changed people under certain conditions. I also think that their example, THEIR, and then we don't say steeply helpful. We say very beneficial or very helpful, but not steeply. I understand that you're trying to use some novel vocabulary, but steeply is not really the right word here. So, yes. So I also think that their example can be extremely helpful for teenagers. Okay. Let's see. Now, so far, okay. I do have some question marks in my head as an examiner. So this is saying if they are the best people, okay? If these ex-prisoners are the best people, that's what you're being asked about. You said that they're very helpful. But the fact that they're very helpful, my question to you is, yes, great, but are they the best people to do this? Okay? And answering this question specifically, best or not the best, or maybe the second best, this is what's going to make a difference between, potentially like a 6 or a 7, or a 7 and a 7.5. So really focusing on this idea of best, this superlative word here, it implies some sort of comparison, doesn't it? So, for example, if prisoners are the best, well, then who is also very good? Or if they're not the best, who is better? Who, in fact, is the best? Okay, so you are invited to make this comparison here, and that's a subtle kind of difference. So I really want to see what you wrote now in your body paragraphs, and then if we have to make any changes in the introduction, we'll do that. First of all, in a number of developed countries, prisons have comfortable and, what is vitally important, efficacious methods of dealing with people who have committed crimes. Such surroundings support criminal on the way of in reinventing themselves and help to socialize after the jail term is over. All right, you've got some grammatical problems here. I would have left this out, this thing about comfort, not necessary, not relevant, so leave it out. So you could have just said something like, in a number of developed countries, prisons have efficacious methods, and you don't even need to say efficacious. You could say effective. And to be honest with you, that's a much better collocation than efficacious, which might sound very sophisticated, but it's not a word typically associated with the word methods. So I would have stuck to effective. So effective methods of dealing with people who have committed crimes. And then here we've got some grammatical problems. Such surroundings, plural, support criminals on their way to reinventing themselves, and such surroundings, and help them to socialize after the jail term is over. So this whole sentence was really problematic for me. I thought it had a lot of errors, and they were basic error. Well, surroundings is always a plural. Such surroundings support criminals. Okay, here's what I would have done. Such surroundings support criminals attempting to reinvent themselves and help them socialize after their jail term is over. Okay, I think that's a little better. Evidently, after this experience, a majority of the people do not get a prison sentence repeatedly and put maximum of their efforts to become better citizens. All right, careful here again. After this experience, the majority of ex-criminals do not get a jail sentence, not repeatedly, but again. And this is a little awkward. Put maximum of their efforts. They do not get a prison sentence again. And put maximum effort into becoming better citizens. There we go. And put maximum effort into becoming better citizens. So here we've got grammar problems. For example, jails in Switzerland maintain the conditions similar to, look at this, you've got a and then you've got plural. So pick, it's either singular or plural. Conditions similar to regular houses without the a, which is following from a statement that after a prolonged period of isolation in a poor, aggressive environment, individuals' mindset is completely changed, and being unable to find a place in society later on, they prefer to get back to the prison. Okay, so this sentence has a number of problems. The first one being that it's very, very long. Look at this, okay? So it's a really long sentence. And when you have sentences that are so long, it becomes very easy to make grammatical mistakes in them or for them to become incoherent, okay? So this sentence, this part of the sentence for me was troublesome. For example, jails in Switzerland maintain conditions without the similar to regular houses, period. Okay? And now, why are you mentioning this thing about jails in Switzerland? Because what follows here, which I highlighted, you say, after a prolonged period of isolation in a poor, aggressive environment. So I don't understand that. Why are you even mentioning the jails in Switzerland when what you're really talking about is, I'm so confused by this. I'm really just lost as to what you're trying to say. Jails in Switzerland are like houses. Maybe you're trying to say because studies have shown after periods of isolation in a poor, aggressive environment, wait, let me try that again. I'm really having a hard time with this. So jails in Switzerland are like houses because after a period of isolation in a bad environment, their mindset is changed. So they're unable to find a place in society, and so they go back to prison. So I'm really confused by this. So what are you saying? That they prefer to go back to an aggressive environment, or they prefer to go back to these Swiss jails? So the whole sentence is really very confusing. You can see that I've spent how long trying to read it and trying to decipher it. So it really needs to be broken into smaller pieces, and the links between your ideas need to be more clear, okay? So consequently, if a person had been kept in a decent environment after he committed a crime. His HIS chances with a C for better fewer is significantly higher. All right, so my issue with this sentence is that I'm just not clear what you're trying to say, and you haven't really talked to me about why these ex-prisoners are the best people to talk to youngsters about crime. You're not mentioning that anywhere in this paragraph at all. So while you've really taken a lot of effort to develop the paragraph, you're not actually focused on what they're asking you. Okay? You're talking about how to basically um, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word in English that I can't think of. Basically, how to help prisoners um, become better people. And that's what this whole thing is about, but nothing about why that makes them, this whole experience makes them the best people to talk to youngsters. So it's really kind of off topic. And there were those areas that I felt weren't really clear. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Secondly, roots of an outlaw attitude. We don't say outlaw attitude, okay? I think you mean something like antisocial behavior. Yeah, that's probably the best thing. Criminal behavior. All right, so those words would have been good. So, secondly, roots of criminal behavior are often grounded in an early age. Teenagers tend to act risky and make irrational decisions. And I like that. Tend to. That's really good. That's the kind of language you want to be using. In order to avoid negative consequences, a range of preventative measures can be used by parents and teachers. Careful. Being easily influenced and extremely perceptive, it is possible that a real example of a person who has been through imprisonment without an, can teach young learners that there is a line that must not be crossed. For instance, children who have seen a negative example of their parents, I don't understand that, on a way of crime. That's unclear. Often fervently vouch for honesty and responsibility. I don't understand this sentence. I think part of the problem is vocabulary. Therefore, a live example indeed can be significantly effective to shape a teenager's worldview. All right, so I'm glad here you did talk about teenagers, but there really wasn't a lot about prisoners that said why they are the best people. Okay, you did say this, that there's a line that must be crossed. Okay, but you didn't really tell me why they're better at doing this than maybe teachers or parents are. So I don't really feel like still you're really grabbing the topic in the way that it should be grabbed. And there were some areas of incoherence that I didn't really know what you were trying to say. Okay, to conclude, on condition that a person after a jail term can overcome his destructive attitude and reshape his world perception, his work with teenagers can be helpful and result in a decent contribution to the society. Okay. So your conclusion was all right. Again, for me, the problem is that you didn't talk about why they are the best people. Remember, that's the key word here. So to give you a couple of pointers about how I think this essay could have been better in terms of task achievement, you could have talked about people who are also considered good, but maybe why they fall short. So maybe you could talk about police officers. Yeah, they're really good because they can tell you what happens to criminals and what they see in their job. And oh my gosh, isn't this terrible? And they see all the destruction for the victims and the criminals' families. And, they see this whole grand scheme. And so they can tell you what prison is really like from a police officer's perspective. And then you can say, however, a police officer falls short because his perspective is, from the authority and not from the person who has actually gone through all of this firsthand. So you could have done that. You could say, yeah, why this person is good, but why he's not as good as a ex-criminal. And then you can spend a paragraph talking about why the ex-criminal is ideal for this job. Okay? And just to kind of prove my point, they're the best people. Look at that. Best people. To what extent do you agree or disagree? If you're on the fence, if you think that there are some problems with this, that maybe they are, but maybe they're not, you could talk about that too. You could say, well, there are some instances where they are in fact the best, but this is not a one size fits all solution. some criminals who are redeemed, okay, should not be involved in this kind of work. Okay, so you could say something like it also depends on the type of crime. If someone is a murderer, perhaps it's not such a good idea. If someone is, jailed for sexual assault of a child or something like that, then no, absolutely not. So you could do that too. So you could say, in some cases, prisoners are definitely not the right people in XYZ instance. And then you can spend a paragraph talking about the instances where they are the best people. So, like I said, there are a couple of ways to do this. But again, it's this idea here. For me, the key word is the best people. Okay? So those are some things I want you to think about. I also want you to be careful with some of that awkward grammar and the awkward vocabulary. Those are some things you need to work on as well, Anna. So I don't think we have another essay from you. I think it's just this task two. I want to invite you to sign up for the online course. I think you're going to find it super helpful, especially since you haven't taken IELTS before. You're going to find that it's just really comprehensive and will give you all the insight you need so that you can do well in IELTS. Okay, take a look at it as an option. There are other options as well, but I think that's the best one for you. Okay, I hope we can work together and I want to wish you tons of luck.